What is real peace?
It's a good question. Real peace is being peaceful under all conditions. That's real peace. Right? Even under the worst of conditions, maintaining a certain kind of peaceful dignity and calm is possible. It's not normal, it's not natural, but it is possible. Right? And sometimes for some people, when they're in the middle of a great disaster, they feel this peace. Even when they're being destroyed, sometimes they, people who have been victimized by certain things, they say they feel this peace overcome them, which is like the spiritual peace, which is beyond your mind and your body. You can be, let's say, swallowed up in this aura and presence of peace, and it shocks you, it surprises you, and it heals you at the same time. It sort of brings you to this condition of awe and astonishment, and then you can say to yourself secretly, "Oh my Lord, there is a spiritual reality here, and I never knew it before, and now I feel it. It's so beautiful." And it's so, despite the circumstances, it's shocking. Wow, it can happen, and it does happen to people. They're witnesses to these breakthroughs and say openings, spiritual openings, glimpses of what it is to be in paradise here and now.
In chapter 135, you write, "One with evil intention may bring good and fortune to another with or through their acts. Others with good intentions may bring the worst harm and destruction with their acts, although their relatively good actions were or may have been acted upon improperly through ignorance. Thus, it is truly better to be free through enlightened understanding." Are you implying that intentions, whether good or bad, are ultimately irrelevant?
Not particularly. That would be a simple escape from the profound, let's say, implications of intention. When we're talking about people who have evil intention, we're really talking about warfare in general. But sometimes that's exactly what amounts to the good we're talking about here. See, so you have evil intention on the surface, but it's really good intention beyond that. See? So you're willing to destroy to attain a certain good, and nothing justifies it in a manner of speaking. But in the ways of the world, you have this intention of doing good, but the way you get to that is by doing evil. See? So we have to understand the paradox of that and dig it for what it is, look at it, and say, yeah. So we're trying to attain good, and we have to fight for it, and that's pretty much the normal survival in the jungle and everywhere on earth. That's earth nature. See? Then when we have good intention, it can be, good intention that's selfish. See, that results in harming other peeps. See, say with good intention, I'm doing my job, so I had to do this because I need to make my money. But then I realized later on it wasn't good of me to pollute the water supplies, and so a whole bunch of people died. And then you have conscience, and it depends on the relativity of exactly what the situation is. You have good intention, that I wanted to do it for my family or my country, and then other things happen. See? So good intention is good. I'm not saying bad intention is as good, but sometimes it leads to good. And so we're saying then the good ultimately is, the all good. And so we have that concept of goodness. See? And the idea, of course, is you want to get through things is to be good to yourself in a goodness sense, if you know what that means, and be good to your family. And if you can, be good to your neighbors. If you can do that, and if you stretch it even more, you can be good to your society, your community, your society, and expand that, your country, be a good citizen of a country. And then, beyond that, we're talking about being a good citizen of Earth, being a good Earth peep, right? And caring for all the peeps in a very universally, impersonally, say, goodness way of being. See? So, that's hard for a lot of people to conceive of, and it doesn't seem to be worth it for a lot of people in this day and age. But for the spiritually minded, it is really worth it. See, a little bit of goodness and kindness goes a long way out here. So,
Chapter 135, you write, All thoughts, words, and actions experienced or imagined are permanently recorded in the consciousness of the Holy or Great Spirit, which pervades and lives all beings. Any spirit soul which sins against the spirit of progress and enlightenment sins directly against themselves. Is this information that is permanently recorded in the consciousness of the Holy Spirit accessible to anyone at any time?
Easy to say, yes. Really hard to accomplish that. And the reason why it's really hard to accomplish that is because people, well, firstly, a lot of people don't want that kind of knowledge anyway. See, it's not to their advantage to have that kind of knowledge. So people are much more concerned with their immediate needs, and so there they are, there they be, and there they'd have to do what it is that they are designed to or programmed to do, inclined or desiring to do. All of that is the same stuff, and they have to take what comes with that. And that's how basically, people evolve, by seeing the limits of their desires, seeing the limits of their programming. If they can have that much intelligence, then they can do something to undo the karma that they have more or less been born into and expand upon it. And so that's the issue for all beings: is are you here to be, what you think you are, what you feel you are, what you know yourself to be, or are you here to be more than that? And then if we say that people get into the spiritual, they can get up to that level, then there may be an application of their interest in certain knowledge that would be of the spiritual variety, and say, yes, no, I want cosmic intelligence. I want to understand what it is to be human. I want to know certain things, and then maybe they can access, let's say, the higher levels of spiritual knowledge, and that would be then in resonance with these records, see, the eternal records, the Akashic records as they're called. And some people can access these things not easily, depending on their state of need, see, depending on their need and their state of purification, because for people who are not in the right state of mind, they will never have access to these things, no matter how hard they try. And the same applies to people who have good religious intentions or are very pious people, and they want the revelation from God, and they're not going to get it. They don't get it. They want to see their Lord, or they want to see this and see that, and they're really good people, and they pray and pray and pray, and they never get even close to it. They don't see anything like it. And then they wonder why certain people who seem to get these things are more or less deserving than they are. And so they tend to view these things with a certain degree of, wonder about, well, where's the justice in this? I'm the good person, and I need to know. I'd like to look at the records myself, and why can't I? And as soon as you know you can't see the records, you had better start judging yourself properly and seeing what you need to do to open yourself up to be worthy of that. That is to say, bring yourself into proper resonance with what it is you need to see. And it may happen that way, but if you're just stuck in yourself and you're believing you are worthy of it, in a sense, you may not be worthy of it, and the results are going to prove to you that you're not worthy of it. So then it becomes more of an issue of self-realization for the individual, whether they are stuck at the physical level, or stuck at the astral level, which many are, or stuck at the causal level, which many are, and memories. And so you have time records you can have access to more easily through your dreams, but that may not necessarily be the Akashic records. That's your timeline. So you could know your past, present, and future because it's built into you at the causal level, but that may not mean you have universal access or access to the universal knowledge at the Akashic level, level of that, Akashic record level of it. See? Which then you can have access to all the planets and all the history and evolution of all the different galaxies and all the rest of that. See? Infinite knowledge. But who needs it? Who can use it? So you see that it's going to be really difficult for people without a need to get to it.
Is a desire to access these records always needed, or in some cases, could someone access them whether they want to or not?
Good question, because some people can desire and get it right away because they're so pure, they're so in resonance with, say, I need to know this, and boom, it can show up. But generally it doesn't happen that easily because such knowledge is just too powerful for people to handle. That would be it, accessing the knowledge of the tree of good and evil in a most cosmic and infinite sense. Who needs that much knowledge? For what use? See, so that is all more or less regulated by the states of consciousness of individuals, states of consciousnesses of individuals. See, they determine how much access they have to these things, or how much access they refuse. If you refuse to open up, refuse to purify yourself, then you are refusing to have access to it. And that's why you can't see what you want to see, because you're not seeing what you need to see about yourself as being obstructing the process of enlightenment from the get-go, maybe all the time. See? So as soon as you yield to opening, depending on where you are in your time world, and in your spiritual unfoldment, if you want to see the higher worlds, you need to open. You need to be willing to let go of the darker worlds for the higher worlds, and this is part of the sacrificial process that is an ongoing one for people who are wanting to progress. See? How much are you willing to give up, to progress? See? How naked are you willing to be in order to be open to and receptive to the light itself? See? All of these are very important questions for the beginners and for seekers and for even practitioners. Okay, now you got to this level, there are infinite levels. Now what are you going to do for getting to the next level? See, what are you willing to do to step up? Okay. That's ongoing. That's way after death too. Okay. So death is just another step. See? And then hopefully when you get into your death condition and get out there, in the universe that is, that you're able to and willing to take steps to improve yourself and enlighten yourself even more so, and take on more responsibility in the spiritual worlds if you're progressed enough to see that as what you are capable of doing. Because we're all here to progress, but not everybody needs to believe that in order for that to be the fact. It's not about belief.
Is there such a thing as a life review upon death? If so, what function or purpose does it serve?
Now, what can it serve? Let's say, hypothetically, since we are in the classroom here of considerations, we can say, yes, you can have a life review. You can have a life review read to you. You can hear it, when you are in your bardo of, initial passing. That can happen. You might even be able to experience it yourself. So it doesn't have to be read to you. You can see it. You may have an opportunity to go back through your life in a moment and see what it is. Or you can be confronted. It's possible that someone will ask you. Someone will ask you, a voice will ask you, are you? Did you? Do you understand why you're going to this place as a result? That can happen, and that does happen to some people. But it's not done to make you feel bad, it's done to make you understand that you're a spirit in progression, but you didn't really know that when you were in the flesh. You thought you were a flesh bag. You didn't know you were a spirit in progression until you had to give the body back to earth, and that's a pretty shocking revelation to some peeps. So it's better to know about that now, so you make your transition easier for yourself.
Chapter 136 is titled The High in the Low and the Low in the High. Are people's perceptions concerning both high and low behaviors skewed by their social conditioning?
Of course. Right. Your education, your culturing has all to do with what you can understand about the spiritual side or the subtle side. Let's say we can call it angelic or the celestial side. But for most people that seems to be so outside of their reality. You're pretty much left, not most, but many people are left, with the nickel and dime realities of survival. See? And that's where they need to learn their lessons and start to progress from. See? And the best way to advance through that is to do good, even even though you are in the midst of poverty and deprivation, you can still be a kind-hearted person and improve your lot from that basis. See, just keep doing good and giving if you can. See, and you're creating wealth by giving. You just don't know that. You can't see it. See, and because that's a payment right there. When you're giving back. You're paying for something. You're giving up something, and you are hopefully, ultimately, clearing your debt and enabling your cup to be filled again as you empty it. If we can look at it in terms of giving up whatever you feel you have, generosity is one way of doing it. It's up to the individual to feel that they can give more than they have or more than they should give. If they can give beyond their own programming, they will gain the wealth that is promised for all people who give accordingly. To give is to get, to receive. To give is to receive. There's no question about that process.
Is finding the high and the low and the high a necessary part of the process of developing a deeper understanding of what's true?
Well, we can say there are different levels of understanding, clearly. You reach a point where you get to the paradox, you see that the low is the high and the high is the low. See? And that you have to go beyond them. You have to go beyond the relativity and the duality of, let's say, ordinary human values. We have to go beyond that. See? Your mind is going to be taken away from you, certain aspects of it. Your self-mind is going to be sort of dissolved in the process, and what you may be left is a completely different mind. See? And you have to be ready to deal with that because you no longer have a body. So what you have left is what you have left, and you have to proceed with that. If we're talking about the death state, going beyond this world. In the meantime, as a human being, you have to learn levels of, let's say, relative value while you're on Earth, and see that when you think you're doing good, may not be doing good, and you may not be doing good enough. So all of this is feedback to us, and when you have done really great, you see it doesn't amount to anything. So we need to get beyond values. We need to be in a state of doing that is no longer of the self. We have to get into a state of doing non-doing, so that there isn't an ego that's waiting for gratitude or waiting for anything. So then you get on the outflow. If you can continue to progress in this way, then you are on the outflow. And it's not about what you receive, it's what you can give. It's all about the giving. And there's some people who have that kind of, let's say, not even selflessness as much as heartfulness. When you get to a state of heartfulness, you just want to give to other people. It's just normal. It's natural. And we are heartful beings in potential. So to get back to a state of heartfulness is very possible, and certainly welcome from some peeps who never knew that they had it in them to be heartful beings. It becomes like a miraculous discovery for some peeps. That they had the heart to be beyond themselves. That they had the heart to be beyond their culturing. That they had the heart to be beyond human nature. See? That they had the heart to be spiritual. See? That they had the heart to be loving beings. It's a miraculous discovery. So.
Are primitive cultures and societies in general considered spiritually superior or inferior when compared to modern day civilized society?
Well, we have very superior people here in this age, in every age. And we have very primitive people who are here in this age and in every age. And that's how it should be. Yeah. So you have the primitive mixed in with the superior, and the extraordinary. We have the ordinary as well, mixed into us, the normal and the supernormal and this, subhuman. We're all part of that mix. And so we have to discern for ourselves where we are and what we need to be, moment to moment, as potentially clear, happy, productive, caring individuals. But if no such realization or intuition arises for the person, then they're waiting for that to happen in their case. See? And that's why it's good for the demonstration of these things to be put out there by certain people who are practicing. Because you may not know how you impact the next person or anybody out there with your, let's say heartfulness, your quiet, let's say, announced heartfulness, your readiness to understand what a compassionate mood is in your case, in response to someone who's crying out, not for another ego, but crying out for some basic recognition. So we have opportunities that arise all the time in the world, in the field of, let's say, human struggle and survival, where we can demonstrate in an exemplary manner, what a kindness is. And I make sure that I do that where I am with people everywhere. See? And reach out to them and give them the respect and recognition that they need as human spirits. See? But we're all the same when it comes to that. See? We're all human, basic human spirits in progression, and ready to respond to positive feedback from fellow human beings. And this is our right, and this is, let's say, our obligation here, is to have common bonds with all of the human race, and keeping things in a good spirit manner. If you have the nature to do that, if you don't have the nature to do it, then it's going to be very hard for you to do it. See. And I think practicing certain things of a spiritual nature opens your mind and opens your heart up well enough so that you feel that it's your normal, let's say, practice. See? And that is to embrace other peeps and respect them.